When you're building an agency, you need tools that allow you to be very productive with your time. So for example, if you're building a website for an electrician, our AI has analyzed 10,000 electrician websites and will tell you exactly the questions that you should ask, and we'll use the answers in order to formulate a website for you. Again, it's really building features and tools that customers need, the white labeling, the branding, allowing them to embed it into the workflows the way that they want it to work. There's a lot of flexibility and customizability built into the platform that other platforms do not offer today.
We have a really cool show today. You and we're going to talk about Duda, and we're also going to slip in a cool little demo of the platform as well. So we've got a lot to cover in everything from raising capital to running the business to scaling it to about 200 employees that you have now. So we're going to dive in. But before we do that real quick, I'd love to get your origin story. How did you get to where you are, and how did Duda become a thing?
Okay, yeah. So I'm originally Israeli, moved to the US kind of towards the age of 30. So this is almost 20 years ago, working for another company. Always wanted to do my own thing, had thousands of ideas on the way that shut most of them down. Had a really good buddy that I grew up with that I know since high school back in Tel Aviv. And we ended up also studying computer science and mathematics together in the same university. So we were always kicking around different ideas. We ended up being in the Bay Area in the same time, kind of around late 2000s, kind of 2007, 8. And this was exactly when the mobile evolution was happening, right? So the first version of iPhone came out in 2007. Android came out shortly after in 2008. And we were seeing how small businesses were basically inundated with the amount of traffic coming from these modern new phones, while their website were predominantly built for desktop. So if you remember back then, it was all this kind of pinch and zoom, not a great experience even on the newest phones. And we came up with this idea that maybe we could help them improve the mobile experience for their end users. We saw that how some of the big brands back in the day, like eBay and Amazon and OpenTable, were creating these amazing mobile experiences. So the kind of M-dot sites, that was what was common back then. But it was clear to us that the lawyer, the accountant, the owner of the pizzeria, right? They do not have the resources, the skill set, the know-how, how to do something like that. So our first product to the market was a mobile-only website builder. It had a very kind of wow impact to what it did. It was super easy. All you had to do is put in the URL of your desktop website, and it kind of ran its magic in the background and created a mobile optimized version of that. And I guess we struck a chord with that solution, and we got to hundreds of thousands of mobile-only sites being created on the platform. We can talk a lot more about it. At the beginning, it was a side project while both of us were employed we had our daytime job. So this was a side project for a while. Eventually, we were able to get investment and big customers interested in it. We can talk definitely more about that as well.
Yeah, so this kind of sounds like, especially in the website building, the platform space, kind of like a David versus Goliath, right? Like you're going up against WordPress, right? And, Wix and some of these, I don't know if how many of those, or, WordPress has been around a long time. I don't know if Wix
Right.
was back when you guys
Yeah, they were.
started up, but I mean, that's a tall order.
Yeah.
So I guess what about what you guys were building, gave you the kind of that no fear mindset of, well, okay, but these guys aren't doing this.
Yeah.
What was that like for you?
Yeah. No, great question. So initially, being a mobile-only site builder was very unique. We didn't feel we had any direct competition or any meaningful competition in the early days. You would ask me, Itai, define your customer. Who was your ICP, ideal customer profile back in that day? Anybody who wants to use the product. That's how specific we were about who our customer was. And you can be that way when, you're growing kind of leaps and bounds and, there's no competition. That changed about 3-4 years into the company, where suddenly there was a market dynamic change where, with the proliferation of devices and screen sizes, people needed websites that work on mobile, but also on tablet and desktop. And people had browsers starting popping up in their cars and on watches. And so it was clear that there needed to be a different answer. You cannot build a website for every single screen. And at the same time, responsive design rose as the paradigm or the framework to achieve it. Build it once, it runs everywhere. So we knew we needed to build our second product based on that framework. And we worked on that. We tried to come out with a product as quickly as we can. And I think by the time we came out with the product that was a responsive website design builder, it was clear to us, hey, at this point now we are in direct competition with WordPress, Wix, Squarespace. And I think like we were kind of coming at it from with a really strong mobile DNA and adding the other screens. They were coming from the other side. They were desktop first and they needed to add kind of the mobile and the other screen. So we all more or less raced and met more or less at the same time with very similar product. And at that point, I started to rise the question of how are we differentiated? What is unique about us? Why are customers going to come to our solution versus the other platforms out there? And that led to another big decision. If the first big decision was to build the second product just to address what the market demands was, now it was about, okay, who are we building, this for? Who are we unique for? And we looked at our data, and about 50% of our customers were the SMBs. But the other 50% were these digital marketing agencies, web designers, freelancers, marketers, building websites on behalf of small businesses. And that segment of our customer base was actually growing faster. And maybe we felt we understood them better. The demands, the requests for the product were different, right? They wanted sophistication. They wanted powerful tools. Well, SMBs just wanted, help me get online as fast as possible, make it simple, right? So it was, these two forces were kind of tearing the company, from within, like, who should we focus on? And eventually we decided we're going to be a web pro only company. Just, it felt like that group was underserved and a bigger potential for us. And the data was showing that they were growing faster. And so kind of almost 4 or 5 years into the company, we made this decision that, we're going to focus really on 50% of our customers. We're going to be this web pro company. And from that day onwards, we didn't spend $1 to acquire an SMB. We were only acquiring web professionals. And I think that decision was absolutely the right decision at the time. And it really propelled the company to where it is today with 23,000 digital marketing agencies and a few hundreds of technology platforms that are embedding us into their product suite.
Wow. Okay. So you made a huge kind of momentum share, or change in momentum, if you will. I guess you had momentum going in both ways, but you had to pick one because doing both was, it's kind of spreading yourself too thin, I imagine. So you made that decision to go towards working only with web pros. And this seems like it makes a ton of sense, obviously, because it's worked out. But
Yep.
the fact that, and I'm going to ask you about how you guys price your product, but, one single web pro could bring you 10 SMBs. An agency could bring you 100 or 300 or 500, whatever that number is. So then that, the amount of SMBs in small, medium-sized business, for those who don't know the acronym, that's amount of businesses that you don't have to go try and market to and bring in and spend money to acquire, right? It just makes too much sense.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It's an intermediary that is, it's very effective from a sales and marketing perspective, as you mentioned. Obviously, you need to be good at acquiring them. They're experts at their field. The tools have to be built to address their needs. And I think over the years, we've developed a very deep and profound understanding of their needs, of their challenges. And we've built a platform that really addresses those. And that's kind of where today we differentiate quite a bit from some of these other platforms that were built kind of mostly for an SMB. We have all the features that kind of agencies need to run their business. So aside from an amazing, website builder, we also have tools that help them manage their end clients, have kind of enterprise grade permission levels where they can give access to clients to make changes, work with them together, get feedback from clients, kind of workflow tools within the platform, tools to manage their own team, their own staff inside the agency, tools to help them collect payments and invoice, bill their customers. Yeah, so there's a lot of tools there, and also all kinds of capabilities around white labeling. So you can actually, if you're kind of a bigger agency or a smaller agency and you want to put your own brand, your own logo on the editor, that's possible. You can change the theme colors to make it fit into, if you have a technology stack that you want to have this embedded in. So a lot of things that are very unique to the needs of our customers.
Wow. Okay. So this goes beyond just a website building platform then. There's a lot of extra tools that are more agency centric. Maybe this isn't a perfect example or a comparison, but like a go high level. Is that kind of where
Yeah,
you're headed or where you are?
I think we're two very complementary solutions going after a very similar market. I know that a lot of our customers, when they want to offer CRM services to their SMB clients, they're using a Go High Level. Many of them integrate between us and a Go High Level. So I would say Go High Level is really kind of the CRM, and we're the web presence solution. So
Gotcha.
it really goes hand in hand.
Perfect. Perfect. So, how did you guys kind of break into this market with the agencies? I imagine, so myself being an agency owner, I can imagine a lot of people were kind of set in their ways when it comes to how they do their web dev and their web design and web building for their clients. Besides the mobile plus, the mobile focus, what was your way in with these agencies? How did y'all go about that?
Yeah. So I think first and foremost is building a great product for that customer, understanding really their challenges with the existing tools. The majority of them, I think almost 60% of our customers are prior WordPress customers. And I think the main challenge is when you're building an agency and scaling it, you need kind of tools that allow you to be very effective and productive with your time. And what we heard a lot from our customers back then that, WordPress is great for building kind of 1, 2, 3 sites. But once you get to the scale that our customers have, that many of them are building tens, hundreds, tens of thousands. We have customers with tens of thousands of sites. You're hitting kind of walls with a WordPress just from the ability to manage and maintain. It's not just building, the maintaining piece is extremely important, right? And it's everything from, the fact that, when you're building with Duda, it's everything comes from kind of is proprietary by us from, right? We host on AWS, but everything on top of that, from the platform to the editor, the templates, the widgets, everything is, it's a well-run oiled machine that doesn't break. And that's kind of what you need to hit that scale. You can't allow yourself to have situations, when you have tens and hundreds of customers where suddenly certain plugins break in the middle of the night and you do not know about it because it's right. That's kind of the WordPress ecosystem. It's all open source, different people building different things. And suddenly your customers call you in the middle of the night, something's broken, you're caught off guard. Yeah, these things don't happen with Duda. We have customers that have over 1,000 sites and there's one IT guy managing 1,000 sites. That's just not possible with a platform like WordPress or any of the other platforms. So I think it's really building kind of the features and tools that customers need, the white labeling, the branding, allowing them to embed it into the workflows the way that they want it to work. Dude is very composable. There's a lot of flexibility and customizability built into the platform that other platforms do not offer today.
Wow. Okay. So, big thing, obviously, for websites is SEO, right? You need to be able to be discoverable by the search engines. How did you guys address that, especially when you're starting out, but even, these days, kind of where is that in the crux of what you all do, when your agencies are using Duda to build these websites? Is it, I imagine it lends itself to be incredibly SEO friendly.
Absolutely. We have a huge SEO community behind this platform. Like a lot of SEOers are using it for their day-to-day, site building needs. And we've optimized the kind of the hell out of the system from an SEO perspective. One of the known metrics in this area is called Core Web Vitals, which is a signal to the Google algorithm. And Duda today ranks the highest from any CMS out there in terms of Core Web Vitals. So it's how Google measures the time that it takes a site to load, the interactivity of a site and all that. So very, very strong engineering team at Duda that has optimized these sites for performance. We've taken a lot of feedback over the years from the SEO community and improved the tool. There's amazing capabilities today. It's not just obviously SEO, but also the kind of the new era of SEO, what is called AEO and AIO. So we do a lot there. I'll just give a few examples. On the kind of more traditional SEO side, we have today AI capabilities. So if you have, for example, 500 images on your website, from an SEO perspective, the right thing to do is you need to have an image alt text tag for every single image. That's very uninteresting work that needs to be done and takes a lot of time. Today, you can do it in Dudo with one button. Basically, AI will go and understand these images and describe them, each image in alt text tag. And it will allow you as an end customer, if you want to go and change it, you can. Frankly, most of what the AI does today in that area is probably better than a human being. And it saves a lot of time. So we do take that hassle away from you. We create an LLM.txt file for every website. So these are files that explain to LLMs the content and structure of the website. We have integrations with Index Now, which is the Bing crawler, and also with Google Search Console. So we let those LLMs know every time there's a change on a website, content has changed. So they update their index. We create schemas, product schemas, FAQ schemas. FAQs is extremely important. We also have AI that creates the FAQs for you. It reads the content on the website and will create an FAQ that you can add. And obviously, if questions inside an AI search align with a question and answer that you have in your website, higher likelihood for that website to appear in ChatGPT, Perplexity, Grok, all these tools. So there's a lot of work that is being done behind the scenes to optimize the site for AI. And we plan to do much more in that area in the days and months to come.
I bet. Well, I'm going to stop burying the lead here. And maybe for those of you viewing on our YouTube channel, you can check out, Itai's going to run us through a quick demo, right, buddy? We're going to do what are you going to show us in this demo here?
I think it's going to be interesting. Let's take a look at the AI capabilities of how you can leverage the AI to build a website. And as we go by it, I'll kind of introduce the platform and, we can take it anywhere we want to take it.
Yeah, that'd be perfect. I'd love to see how you integrate the AI to build this. And just in general, I'd love to see the platform. I think we have a lot of listeners out there who'd just like to see what it looks like out in the wild.
Okay. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, sir. We're good to go.
Okay. Good. So here we're inside the Duda platform, and this is kind of what we call the dashboard. It's what I see. I've built kind of all these test sites here. And there's multiple ways to create a new site. You can start with a template, which is kind of the traditional way. Or today, you can also start with AI. You can also collect content first from a client. So you can see here kind of our agency focus. So if you've collected content from a client, either you have a file, maybe some agencies interview their clients and take all the notes, the summary of that interview, and put it in a Google Doc. We can take a Google Doc, an unstructured Google Doc, and turn that into a site. The content collection form is also an interesting one. We have kind of an AI form builder that can suggest to you what questions you should ask in a client interview. So for example, if you're building, let's say, a website for an electrician, our AI has analyzed 10,000 electrician websites and will tell you exactly the questions that you should ask, and we'll use the answers in order to formulate a website for you. But for this demo, let's start just creating a website with AI. So it will ask me some basic questions. What is your business name? Let's say I'm based in Boulder, Colorado. I love skiing. So maybe one day I'm going to open Itai's ski shop. What does the business do? Let's say we do ski and snowboard equipment rental. Sounds good. If I had a logo, I would upload it here, but we'll move ahead and give a little bit more context on what the business does. We do, let's say, daily rental of ski, snowboard, and let's say cross country ski equipment. Let's leave the language as English and the style conversational, and I click next. If I had uploaded a logo, it would understand the colors in the logo and would have suggested theme colors that would be relevant to that. Since I haven't, we can just pick any of the themes here. I'll go with this kind of different shades of blue. And we'll go with the font that is suggested, and let's see the website that it builds for me. So the idea is that hopefully if this works, right, this is AI, we never know what it's going to do. I'll get a pretty good starting point for a website. What this shows me here is a navigation, a site navigation, a tree map, basically, that AI is recommending for me. So you can see here the homepage with welcome to Itai ski store, explore our equipment, why choose us. It will create customer reviews for me, equipment guide, rental pricing, safety tips, right? So all these pages are going to be created for me. And I have some flexibility here where, for example, maybe I want to move why customers say I want to move it down here. I have that flexibility of doing that. Let's take the structure that it's recommending and just go with that.
And that's
And
essentially
here,
the sitemap, right?
exactly, that is the sitemap.
Wow.
So here it's already showing me the homepage, right? So I have a homepage that, and again, think of the difference between this experience versus like just starting from a template from scratch that has nothing to do with my business, right? This is a kind of a pretty amazing entry point to building a website. So it gives me, right, a headline, a title, some images that are related to skiing. By the way, all these images are AI generated. So everything that you see here, underneath the hood, we're using multiple LLMs. For text, we're using ChatGPT. For images, we're using Gemini, which is improving all the time in the image creation. For coding, we're using Claude by Anthropic. So a lot of LLMs have been kind of used here in the background to generate what you see here.
Wow.
Let's continue. Why rent from Itai? We have here customer quotes.
Wow.
An FAQ that I talked about earlier, right? What types of equipment can I rent and so forth. So I can either, if I like what I have here, I can go with this. I can tell it to, maybe I don't like the whatever he generated. Let's kind of spin the wheel again and just tell it to generate something else. And then it will just come up with a completely different style with different images. Let's see what it does.
Wow.
I can also, there was another button here on the right, which would have allowed me maintain the style, just change the content.
Okay.
Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, now I have something else. Different images. Right.
Wow.
Okay, at this point, there's all kinds of things that I can add. I'll just show you something pretty quick here. For example, I could do here, add a section. I'll highlight the section and maybe I want to add logos. So I'll just pick this and let's see what it did. Right, it added kind of a section with logos, or maybe I want to add stats. So let's see what it does. I'll add this. So now it added here some default, and I'll just tell it generate content. Right, let's try to make the stats relevant to the site that we're building. And then it uses AI to generate a prompt for me. Showcase key statistics about our ski and snowboard rentals, highlighting customer satisfaction and equipment. I'll say generate. So let's see what it does with this stat section that we added. Right. So what we have here is 1,200 rental completed. So it made up all these stats, right? Hopefully people who are using the tool, use this more as a framework and go and put in kind of real stats about their business. Right. But again, great head start. Wow. So now I can just continue moving to the editor with all the pages. We just looked at the homepage, but all the pages were generated. I'll move into the editor and kind of show you what was created.
Will this
So
pull
this,
from any existing information if there's an old website of the companies or if they have a Google business profile, as they should? Does this builder pull from any of that, or is it all its own information?
yeah, so we have the ability when you're adding pages to the site to pull from an existing URL, to pull content. And we're actually working now on even improving it further where, where I said start with AI, it would be like start with a URL, just give us any URL and we'll basically take that website, use as much content as we can from it and generate a whole website based on kind of an existing website that you have. So
Okay.
this could allow agencies to offer kind of a redesign service or kind of migrate an existing website from an old legacy platform into a modern platform like this one.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, so we let's look at some of the other pages. Homepage, customer review pages were created here.
Wow.
Equipment guide.
And just for reference for those who are listening and maybe not watching right now, we're watching, it looks like a full website that, could take hours upon hours to dev out in other platforms or, the classic kind of drag and drop stuff from like a Wix or a Weebly. Like this AI, man, this is way different. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's a lot here. And you have here a full editor, right? I can go in and now start to, right? I can go in and now kind of what in a traditional editor you can do. We can go in, right? Change text. I can write add text here. I can, move things around. For example, maybe I don't want this image here. I want it here, right? It's all drag and drop. So this is kind of where you have the advantage of AI to generate. But, sometimes it's just easier to go in and, take your cursor and move something from the left to the right than try to explain that to
Right.
right to an LLM in
Right.
words. Or it's easier to just go somewhere and say, hey, let's change this background color and have a palette with different colors.
Exactly. Does Duda optimize for all the different, aspect ratios, screen sizes?
Yeah.
Is that all automatic? Is that something that the agency owner has to be like, oh gosh, I got to go in and, adjust all these different factors, kind of like you would on a WordPress?
You see here, it does that all that automatically. So I'm showing you
Wow.
here. I just clicked on
Oh, yeah.
preview and you can see it on desktop, tablet, mobile. So it does kind of all the breakpoints for you. You can even copy this preview link and send this link with these kind of 3 devices to a client. So yeah.
Impressive.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things here. We probably don't have the time to go over everything, but
Mhm.
there's everything from controlling the themes, adding pages. There's a lot of widgets that you can add into the website. There's AI to build your own widgets. We don't have time for this right now, but I could say generate a pricing calculator for a ski store where these are the daily rental prices for the different equipments and there's different pricing for basic, intermediary and advanced equipment, and it will create a price calculator so customers can go in and calculate how much it would cost them to rent, equipment for
Wow.
the entire family.
I guess draw a comparison. This would be like building a plugin on WordPress, but it's AI is going to
Exactly.
whip it up for you in a few minutes.
Exactly.
Wow. And it's
That's
totally
pretty cool.
customized to you too. So you're not having to rely on somebody else's dev.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have here personalization. You can create content on your website based on rules. So certain people will see certain content, other people will see other content. So, for example, if you're a retail store and you want to show certain clothes to people coming in from Australia where they're in summer right now, they would see summer clothes versus people logging in from the East Coast would see winter clothes.
Wow.
We have a full e-commerce store with so
That was my
all,
next
you
question.
can sell online. Sorry, you were asking something?
Yeah, no, that was going to be my next question is does this also function for e-commerce stores? Because I know that's a
Oh,
totally different ballgame when it comes to building a website as compared to, building, Angelo's Pizzeria in,
yeah.
Cincinnati, Ohio. That's totally different.
Yeah. About 15% of our websites are online stores, people who are
Wow.
selling goods, digital products, subscriptions to products. Yeah.
Wow. And that puts you in direct competition, obviously, with Shopify. That's the big dog. Is that a completely different side of the business, or is it with everything you have wrapped into the software, is it not that big a deal? Or do you like have a whole team that's dedicated to the e-com side of the
Yeah.
dev and the improvement,
Yeah.
et
Good
cetera?
question. So we've been doing e-com for a long while. Obviously, Shopify is the leader in the space. From our perspective, we want our customers who are these web pros, digital marketing agencies, to build any kind of website on our platform. So we didn't want them to need to leave our platform when they were going to build a retail store. And also there's many businesses, brick and mortar store businesses or service providers that just might want to sell a couple of products. So they don't see themselves as I'm an online retailer, but for example, maybe I'm a yoga studio and I'm also selling some yoga mattresses and, yoga
Like
blocks and stuff like that.
t-shirts, hats, yeah,
Exactly.
branded
Swag stuff.
material.
So we wanted to make sure that our customers are using our platform for all their needs. So that's our focus there. Yeah, and you can do today, basically, I would say almost anything you can do on the Shopify or WooCommerce. I'm sure since that's their core focus, they have more features and more capabilities, especially if you're building kind of niche, very unique things. But, 80% of customers need only 20% of the features. And
Mm,
I think we have way more than that. So
wow.
yeah, that's a product. It was actually based on an acquisition that we did. I did that about 4 years ago, a company called Snipcart in Quebec, Canada that we acquired. And today that is our native e-commerce functionality is based on that product. A combination of that product, of the acquisition that we made, together with teams inside Duda that have built a lot of the other components of e-commerce. So yeah, back to your question, there is a full team consisting of about 3 squads within Duda that is really primarily focused on e-commerce sites.
So tell me about the security of due to websites. I know that's a huge thing, especially for smaller, medium-sized businesses where, they can get phished, they can get hacked, they can get taken for ransom. What are the security features like in Duda, and how do you guys guard against that? Or I guess put your agency owners' minds at ease when it comes to security and, like all the ADA accessibility rules, things like that on their websites.
Yeah, yeah. So we're touching on both security and privacy and accessibility. These are really important things that are part of the platform. So I think underlying everything is where, everything is running on AWS. So you kind of get to enjoy all the security and infrastructure that Amazon AWS provides. On top of that, we provide a 99.99% SLA. And we actually share our stats. I think if you go to status.dudo.co, we're very public about our uptime, something that we're proud of, having today almost 1 million websites on the platform. And it's, just kind of always up, always live. Obviously, when AWS goes down, which rarely happens, but it did happen about a month ago, if you recall, and about half of the internet was down.
Mhm.
When that happens, there's not much you can do, but these occurrences are very rare. And yeah, we've invested also in an app store with about 70 different third-party apps, things that you can add to the website. So, for example, ADA, accessibility, privacy, GDPR is extremely important in Europe, in California, in more and more states in the US. So these are important aspects of having a website today and making sure that it complies with local laws as the regions where this website or where the business is operating.
And I imagine probably some of those apps, or maybe it's native to the platform because small businesses are targeted all the time through contact form spam. Are there safeguards in place natively, or I guess through third-party apps that help prevent that? Or not, you can't prevent that because then you'd never have anyone submit anything on your contact form, but
Yeah,
to keep it at a minimum as much as possible.
yeah. Yeah, we have some smart things that we run in the background to test for some of these. So if there is an abuse of, like you mentioned, forums, spam sites, phishing sites, we do our best to catch it. Obviously, it's never possible to be kind of 100% insulated from these occurrences, but we do
Mhm.
our best to safeguard our customers.
Love it. Love it. All right. Well, my last question here as we land the plane. How do you price this product?
Yeah.
Especially since you're B2B, you're working with agencies specifically. How does that pricing work? Are there certain tiers? Let me in on that.
Yeah. So you can see our pricing on duda.co/plans. And the pricing, it's divided into two. There's an account plan and there's a per site plan. The accounts by default come with one site. Some of our more advanced account plans come with a couple of sites bundled in them. Starts roughly around, I would say, roughly around $20 a month per site with the first account. And I think online you can buy anywhere to, like, the biggest account that we're selling online plan is about 150. You could also add e-commerce sites, which are more advanced, or sites with bookings. We just released a pretty cool new booking solution, a scheduler that many businesses need. That would be kind of an add-on to the price of a website.
And do you guys have an internal domain registration and domain hosting service, or do your customers still use an external one for that?
Yeah, we refer to an external one. It's built into the platform, so it's an integration that we've done and allows people to buy it when they're publishing their website. So you can either bring a domain from somewhere else and connect it to Duda. You can purchase through our flow, which is, again, a third-party integration that we did. And obviously, when you go through us and through our flows, we've kind of built tools to help, do all the DNS settings for you. So that works really nicely and saves a lot of time.
Awesome. And then is there
I'd also,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
sorry. Yeah, we don't include email. Email is not part of what we sell. I'd also add that in terms of pricing, if you're really a scalable kind of agency or a technology platform that wants to embed Duda into your product suite, we have what we call enterprise plans. So these are custom plans that, we work together with our partners to configure those. It's also structured from this kind of platform fee or account fee and a price per site. Obviously, if you get to very high volumes, we can discuss with you kind of preferred pricing of kind of a volume tiered base discounts per site.
Awesome. Well, Itai, you're a busy man. I got to let you run. This has been fantastic. Thank you so much for that demo. And guys listening, make sure you go to our YouTube channel and check out that demo. That was pretty awesome, watching AI whip up a website in 2 minutes. A functional website, pretty much. Like, the backbone was done for you right there. So that was very cool. I want to make sure that anybody out there listening today, if they want to either learn more from you, contact you, or get in touch with Duda, check out Duda, what are the best ways to do that?
Yeah. Feel free to reach out to me. My email is itai, Itai, at duda.co. Also, you can find me on LinkedIn. I think those are the best ways to reach out to me.
All right, wonderful. Well, guys, go check out Duda. That's a pretty awesome platform. And Itai, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your time and knowledge. This was fantastic.
Yeah, Brian, thanks for the conversation. Really enjoyed it. And thanks for asking me to do a demo.